We are ready to begin building our dashboard. If you'll remember, in step 1, we outlined our dashboard brainstorm. We thought about what we want to see and how we want to see it. In step 2, we actually built a report, and we made sure that we grouped this in the summary format, and we actually used a chart. We inserted a chart into this. We're now ready to go to step 3. Before I do that, however, I want to run this report, copy the link, and insert it into my dashboard brainstorm. That way, I am always able to access the work that I have done, and it's all organized. I can also create a folder in my Salesforce by clicking Save As and saving this in my folder. However, for the sake of this video, I would like you to please just save it right there. Now, we are ready to go onto the third step, which is to create the dashboard. So if I'm in Salesforce, I go to the home page. I click on the plus sign, and I can either go straight down to dashboards, which I'm going to do this time. Alternatively, I could have clicked reports, and that could take me directly to the reports. So if I'm in my dashboards, I can go to the dashboard list, and I can actually click new dashboard. Now remember, there are 2 parts to one dashboard. The interface, which is what we see as a user, and then the backend, which is what we create. We are actually in the backend right now. We're creating our dashboard. So our first step is always to save our work. So I'm going to click Save, and I'm going to call this ABC Industries Strategic Dashboard. Alright, I gotta make sure I spell that correctly. And I'm going to put this in my personal dashboard. So I'm going to click Save and run the dashboard. This, what we see here, is the interface. That's what the user would see. Notice that there's nothing there because we haven't done the work on the back end, and that's exactly what we're going to do right now. If I click Edit, I'm then taken to the back end where I can then begin to insert the report I've just created. On the interface, we have 2 main components. The components, which is what we want to see, and the data sources, where the information is coming from. Let me show you exactly how this works. What I need, though, is I need the title of my report. So I'm going to copy that. Remember, we made a few changes to it. So the report actually needs to be activities, right? There it is right there. What I do is I drag this report and I drop it into my component section, right? So I drag and drop it. Let me take it out. I drag and I drop this in. All right, I can remove this, take this report, drag and drop it in. What I then can do is figure out how I want to see this report. And so I would like to see this in a bar graph. So I take the bar graph and I drop it over the report. And notice now it's working. You have the wheel of death, as they call it. And that is because it's loading the data. And what we can do in the meantime is actually edit this report. So if I double click, I can then copy and paste a heading into this chart, and we can see that it's pulled the data. And what we can do here is we can now click Close, Save and Close. And notice now we go to the dashboard interface, which is where we see our chart. However, I would like to actually edit this chart a little bit. I'm going to click Edit. I'm going to click the wrench right up here. And I'm going to slide right up here and click Use Chart as defined in the source report. And what that does is it actually goes and takes it directly from the report chart that we created. So it takes it directly from there. And because we put so much work into that earlier on, we're now benefiting from that here now. So what I'm going to do is make sure we use that chart. If I didn't want to use the chart, I could actually use the component data and group this data myself, and I could put it in a vertical chart, right, and group this by status. We would have the same thing. I could drill down to whole units, make sure that that says there, and we could format this report as we would like. I'm going to just go back make sure that this thing says use chart as defined in source report. And I'm going to click OK. Now there's another best practice that I like to do as well, which is to fill in the footer with the question or the purpose of this report. So for example, right, what I put in here is what we want to see. So what I like to do is copy that, edit it a little bit, but paste it in. And what we can do here is we can describe this chart a little bit. This report shows the number, right? So this chart shows the number of hot, warm accounts in Texas, California by status, right? And so that's for anyone who may not necessarily be familiar with this chart and are just looking at this dashboard without information on the report that it comes from. So what we can see is actually this report that is coming up on our dashboard. And what I would like you to do then is right-click on your chart right here, right-click, and that will allow you to actually go to the report. So if there's any questions about the numbers, you can then click directly onto your dashboard and get that information from there. And what is important to note is that any changes you make to the information that is pulled in this report will automatically reflect in the dashboard after clicking refresh. Let me show you a little example of that. So for example, if we edited this chart and we made it a horizontal bar chart, we grouped this by status and we clicked OK, and we saved this chart, and then we went to our dashboard and we clicked refresh. The chart itself will change because it reflects the chart that we have put in our report. So that is the first process that we take from going from a question that we then brainstormed, we mapped it out. We then can go back here and click yes, absolutely, we have put this into our dashboard. It is ready to go. We then brainstormed, we created the report. We then use that report to then create our dashboard. In the next series of steps, we're actually going to go through this process again and use the second round of questions, and you will end up with a beautiful dashboard. I will see you in the next video.